drop for you.
Yeah.
Information.
Right.
And you know this. The only way you know this to go check the dead drop is you drive past my house and I put my flower pot out on my porch. Mm-hmm. When you see it out there, you know it's time to go check the dead drop.
Right.
Joe, how are they going to know that the flowers in that pot have been dead for 3 years?
Well, I said flower pot. I didn't say flower.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this could be the same thing. It could just be some spy just like,
Yeah.
checks your page and says, well, if I publish something really long and tedious and stupid, that's not, say, 3 lines, but say, 200 lines.
But even
well,
more
you know
than
to go
that,
check the dead drop.
I mean, maybe it's that, or even it's
That is the simplest flag in the world.
It is the
Easy
simplest
little
flag in the world,
yeah.
but it could also be even something as like, the every fourth post is the coded message, or whatever your number is for the day.
Or just
every
a simple,
fourth comment is, the next line, the first line is part of the code. It could be something super sophisticated like that.
Or something, or
That's actually pretty simple.
Or again,
simple in
But
the
taken to a
inception of
scale
it,
that
but
is just
yeah.
No, I get where
Totally.
you're headed with that.
yeah, it just seems like it's still not quite. It doesn't quite work because of all the loony behavior.
Yeah.
You'd think you would want to have a sort of normal
I
Facebook
agree.
page.
Yeah,
right?
you would want to have a normal Facebook page, I think, and you would also, I think, again, the ancestry, the genealogy accounts are what kind of throw this for a loop, unless you were create the illusion of a real person who had some mental illness going on to explain the crazy posts on Facebook. Maybe, I don't know. I think we could speculate about this for a really long time. I think the idea of it being an internet number station is really interesting, but I don't think it's the right answer.
I have one thing that is not in your stuff,
Okay.
or what it could be.
In the
that?
fake heading?
Under the fake heading.
Okay.
This is a fake section.
Yeah.
It is entirely possible that somebody else had created a bot that was scraping comments or content from another blog or set of profiles and storing it and then pouring it into a comment thread. So let's just say that it goes to I'm not going to name, thecrazywebsite.com. And there's all these comments, and it goes and it looks for Tom's comment, and because Tom, they really like what Tom says. He's really intriguing and it's fun, so it scrapes every comment that Tom makes and then just starts pouring them into all of, let's say, the first week of May's comments get poured into one continuous post. Like, it could be as simple as that. Now, why you would do that,
I don't know.
I have not the faintest of ideas.
No, it is hard
But
to say.
that would explain it to me. It in terms of the behavior, because it's something that isn't as one of the hard parts about this is that things are done so rapidly in such volume. So this would be a way to actually.
Well, that timing we'll talk about in the real theories. We can talk a little bit about one of the other things that people think that this might be.
Okay.
Really?
So that's all I have for fake. Joe, did you have any additional theories for fake?
No, I think not now. I think not. But
Okay. So you ready for the next theory, which is real?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
my book
yeah.
is out.
Awesome. I know. So there's good reason to believe that Karen's a real person.
no.
She may think so.
Well, no, I do. I think Karen's a real person. I think there are more than just that one picture of her, and they're her, and she wears her hair. This is so weird. I'm sorry. She has like dark brown hair, and she wears it in like 2 braids with like a hat on. Like that's how she wears her hair. Like all of the other pictures of her, she looks like that. But you can tell it's the same person. She's there. She exists, and she's in non-Photoshop damaged pictures. So if she is real, what's going on?
Well, yeah.
So there are a couple things here. One theory is that she's a victim of MK Ultra or the CIA or MI5, and in
Yeah, I'll buy that.
the many things that Karen
Good Lord.
claims to be connected to, the person that she does say is her father was the director of MI5 for a while.
Oh, really?
And I'm not gonna name names.
Okay,
You can find
good.
this information on the internet.
It's not highly pertinent. It doesn't change anything.
It doesn't, because those are publicly available names.
Yeah,
I'll
and
tell you what
I
his
only
name
say
is.
that. I only say that because sometimes people bristle at us about that. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you really cared, you would go
look.
find it.
You can find- no, his
Because it's
name
not
is-
hard.
His name is C.
Yeah,
It's easy.
it's easy.
Yeah.
But she does, so, and she says that, like, that's an alias for, like, his given name, which is something Waldegrave, which is, like, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, like I said,
6
you can
degrees of
look this up.
separation of Kevin
Yeah,
Bacon is
totally.
what she's going after.
Exactly, yeah.
By the way, you know my thing about that, right?
I do.
The only thing I like about it is because it involves bacon.
I know.
Yeah.
You're making
Bacon's
the same
good.
leaps of logic as Karen is.
Exactly.
Another thing that I've seen, sorry, do you guys feel like you need to discuss the MK Ultra MI5 CIA thing?
No, she refers to it once,
She
but I don't know.
throws a lot of accusations about MI5 and the CIA
Mm-hmm.
around.
Yeah.
Karen's not the only person on the internet.
I was gonna say, but all you have to do is look at our group to see
But
that a lot of people
Karen.
or in my little black
in
book.
your little black book that we're
Yeah.
gonna sell when we're done with it.
But as far as the MK Ultra thing too, doesn't Karen? It seems to me that Karen's a little young.
I would agree with
to have
that.
been involved with MK Ultra.
I would agree with that. However, I would say that I have heard a lot of, like, my mother was experimented on, from MK Ultra when she didn't know she was pregnant with me.
Oh yeah, right.
Sort
yeah.
of things, but I don't think that this is one of those things.
Yeah.
I think if she is connected to anything, it would be MI5, and I don't think she's connected to MI5.
I doubt it. She's too
No.
flaky. But I mean, back in the old days, I mean, she was not flaky enough to be part of MI5. But these days, I think that she's too flaky. Yeah, the thing about the MK Ultra thing too is that if it truly existed, they would have had no trouble at all if they were doing truly mind control.
Mm-hmm.
They would have had no trouble at all making these people forget everything.
I agree.
Yeah. So.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
okay. So, but remember that the best way to hide yourself is to put out disinformation, and what better than to release a bunch of your squirrely rejects who spout misinformation
Sure.
while you're doing the
Sure.
real thing.
Yeah, plant all kinds of false information
Yeah,
in there. Yeah, you
absolutely.
can do that, and
So-
then,
Yeah.
just shoot everybody's credibility all to hell, and then
Yeah.
next time it comes up, everybody rolls their eyes.
And the
Yeah.
one time that there's a grain of truth, everybody associates it with this bag of garbage. So
Yeah.
why would I even read into it?
Yeah.
The MK Ultra. Have you guys ever heard of the Indian Lake Project?
I have heard of it.
Yeah, but
Okay, so there's the Indian Lake Project is all about MK Ultra and
Yeah.
mind control, and it's put together by this guy John.
Now, he's the guy that went out in the woods and found that mysterious
His
concrete
grandpa.
structure.
No,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no.
No,
His
he-
grandpa found a box a steel box in the woods.
I
that
thought
had
it was
all
his
kinds of-
uncle that gave it to him.
Uncle. Yeah,
His
not
uncle gave
grandpa.
it to him.
Uncle.
Yeah.
But yeah, finds all this stuff that's all associated with MK Ultra and all this stuff, and he releases it over time. But he does something very similar to Karen. If you look at the photos, they have the same age Photoshop treatment to them.
Interesting.
The
Yeah.
same folds, the same wear marks. Like
Yeah, these are old photos of people that were involved in these experiments long ago.
And
they're
they're-
old, and they're grainy, and they're black and white.
And they're children and
antique
adults.
damaged. But they've been photoshopped, like you say, to look antique.
Yes, and the damage is you see the same vertical from left to right
Interesting.
on a lot of them. So that's why it's weird to me. That's why I sort of want to say that she's fake, because in a way, I kind of feel like John is fake. Except
Yeah, I think-
supposedly photos of John have been put out there. I saw a photo that I couldn't verify was real. So I meant to try to bring this up earlier, and then
Oh, that's okay.
we blew by it.
Yeah.
But it's just this MK Ultra thing is just it's too easy to fabricate.
I agree.
Well, and speaking of John, that guy John in Indian Lake, I think that's just a creative writing project. Either that or his uncle is the biggest D-bag in the world, because his uncle gives him this metal box with all this stuff in it relating to it, and then later, if he finds out his uncle felt like what was in that box had ruined his life. So what's the first thing you do when you ruin your life?
Yeah,
you
you
give the
give-
box to your nephew.
Right, to ruin
Right.
their life.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it totally, to me, was a creative writing project.
Right, yeah.
Well, and I wouldn't be opposed to that idea, because it's funny is that the blog went for about 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden there was this shift of here's my Twitter handle. I will be putting all future updates on Twitter,
Well,
and then This is my first Twitter post, and all future comments or updates will be here on Twitter, and that's it.
Yeah. This is actually an interesting segue to the next theory about Karen is real.
Yeah.
And that is that her posts are actually excerpts of her like novel. Like she's writing a book about her life.
That's a novel I just don't want to read.
Well, it would be, I mean, it would explain this like quote unquote genealogy research. I mean, let's just for 1 second put away our, like, let's just suspend our disbelief and say maybe it turns out she is actually related to all of these people. And she actually finds out that she's related to she's from these like crazy lineages that have distilled down, and she wants to write a book about it. And so she's is writing about
it could be
her life, about things that she thinks are connected overall. I mean, I don't know that there's a great story there, but
not really, no.
Many people, even people I know, have said, "Oh, I'm working on my novel," and you read a couple pages of it, and you're like, "Well, this is utter crap. Like, this is really bad." And so there's nothing to say that her working on a novel has to mean it's good, or even coherent.
Makes any sense.
Right, it doesn't have to be. She could think it's like this great work of art. I mean, like Kanye West, like we've talked about his book that he came out with, where it was like some of the pages were just like one letter. Like he got this book published, and it's just like the rantings of a lunatic.
And obviously, Karen read that and thought, "Hey, if he can do it,
I can do it."
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there's nothing that says that books have to be intelligible.
No.
So there's that theory that, right, so this would also explain the rapid succession of posts, is that she had written out
and cut
pages
and pasted, yeah.
and then just cut and paste.
But it's a strange place to archive your notes.
I agree. I don't know
say
necessarily if it's an archive. Sorry. I don't know that it's an archive necessarily as so much as like she thinks she's sharing it with the world.
She's getting publicity.
Well, I thought it was more like she makes references to things that only she and people that she know would understand.
Maybe.
It's kind of coded in a sense that she makes reference to this and that, and it means nothing to you or me, but to her and her family, it does mean something. Yeah. It triggers a memory, and so a sentence, a few words, a few
Waldorf
sentences.
salad.
Yeah, reminds them of this whole what happened in the summer of 1968.
Yeah.
That's going to go to my memoirs, of course. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess for me, it's kind of like, and then it also explains why the posts are not kind of organized the way they are, that like each set of posts and comments would be like a chapter.
They're sort of self-contained. They are in a way.
Pretty self-contained.
They don't bleed from. So there's always
She very rarely gets stuck on a topic.
Well, but what I was getting at is there's usually a topic and then or a main statement and then comments.
Right. That's what I mean. Like that post.
And they don't tend to bleed from one to the other. So the comment on the topic of Tuesday and all of Tuesday's comments don't then feed what happens on Wednesday's comment or topic and all of its comments.
Right. And the only thing I would say is that like I don't necessarily know why one would like be posting these things for like 12 hours.
Yeah.
You know.
LSD.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, listen, we know some good writers out there, and if our friend Mark Adams was on a bender.
Hey, Mark.
I know you don't do that, but if Mark was on a bender and he just started writing,
I bet it would be better than this.
Well, okay, listen, Mark is much higher caliber than this, but the point is that somebody who thinks that I can write, and they just start spewing.
And I'm just gonna put a name to this, real quick, and that's hypergraphia.
Yeah,
and we're gonna talk more about that in a minute, but just the hypergraphia is basically like a compulsion to write.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be what's going on here.
And it's one of many mental disorders that are attributed to Karen.
People do say that she displays hypergraphia. I know you had a couple things that you wanted to talk about before we get to my last real theory, Steve.
The things
or things you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, no, there's things that I want to talk about because I'm just... we need to hash this out because I'm a bit stumped on them. So she mentions a couple of people. She mentions Donald McLean, who was a real person, though...
I should stop to say that regardless of her allegations that like people are like using these different aliases, almost everybody that she refers to are real people.
Right, but she makes these comments about him.
She says they're the same people, but they're...
But he's such a weird throwback. He's the one who's a spy.
Yeah,
he was part of the Cambridge spy ring.
Yeah, who then went... Didn't he go... He moved to Russia. He defected and lived there till some point in his old age. She also talks about, and I'm going to butcher the last name, it's Arthur Alexar? Does that sound right? Who was an Estonian poet?
Yeah.
And, like, her comment, oh, it's good to see that Alexar is back and yada yada. It's like, dude, Alexar has been dead for decades at this point.
She put quotes around that, right? And I think she was, again, making one of those, like, only the way that only Karen does, making a pun. Mm-hmm. She does this thing where she just, like, refers to someone as someone else.
Okay.
So that was
that's that leap of logic,
right? Or the Raoul leap that she was making. I mean, like she just kind of there's a word for what she was doing. I think it's confligate is the word. Confligate.
I'll
Not complicate. It's like conflate. You mean?
Yeah. Conflate. She conflated people often.
Yeah.
And did that kind of like wordplay.
Kind of like it's an association, almost like memory mnemonics.
Yeah,
you know
totally.
What I'm saying?
It totally is. Yeah.
That's a good.
It's a great way. So that
Yeah. So there's one or two other little things that I've seen, which is I never saw this anywhere, but I always wondered, and you hinted at it a little bit earlier, which is. You were talking about when you have a slow connection speed and everything loads, but it's super slow. So I have had websites that have done this to me, especially when you're on a crappy computer and it's a crappy internet connection. What if she's not making these comments simultaneously, but in matter of fact, she's in her cabin in the woods on some terrible dial-up at 12 baht, and she's making comments, and then 5 minutes later she's making another comment, and then making another comment, and her computer's just caching it all, and then when it gets on, it just dumps it all. And that would create a chain like that. Not a perfect answer, but
I like that,
it suddenly becomes it's a technology problem, and not she is a complete. You know, she's not is a jaybird.
Well, I mean, it would, except for that, like, the content of those posts is still questionable.
You're right, but this to me, so I always break these things apart. You know that,
I know,
Devin?
but I guess the thing for me is that, like, that is not, like, I don't have a problem with the fact that they're posted simultaneously. I think a lot of people fixate on that issue, like, posted simultaneously.
I do too.
I think there's, like, 20 different totally logical reasons that they could be posted simultaneously.
Yeah, the whole
and that still doesn't,
thing.
and it still does not explain the content.
Not at all.
That's being posted. And for me, it's the content of the posts, not the. But I think you got a little fixated.
Yeah, no, I broke it apart. I took content and then the postings and I separated them. That's why I looked at it and said, well, what if this is what's going on?
That's fair.
I mean, it's just like the same thing as where we talked about before, or the idea that I proffered, which is somebody was scraping it from somewhere else and then pouring it in. Okay?
Yeah.
There's somebody else who I found who is a lot like Karen.
Yeah.
In terms of
that posts a lot like Karen.
Posts a lot, well, but I think could be an inspiration for Karen.
Okay.
And that is Francis E. Deck.
Okay.
And if you don't know who Francis E. Deck is, Google him. There's a great log of his work, and it's really interesting. The short version is he was a lawyer. I think it was in the 1940s or 50s. He did some things. He got himself disbarred, and he launched a 20-year letter-writing campaign.
Yeah.
literally typewriter writing. There's actual scans of his letters. There's some punctuation. There are absolutely no carriage returns. It is just a wall of text with, actually, he's taken the typewriter, he's put the page in it sideways and typed on the edge, the borders of the pages. Like, he just makes these crazy screeds where and I'm not using crazy in the derogatory sense here, but he makes these things where he is making outlandish claims, and like, he sounds very racist, but really I think he just hated everybody, so he attacks everybody. He attacks everything. Like, nothing is sacred to this guy. And he did it for 20 years, so there's a humongous record of his work. And to a degree, the style of Karen's writing, it seems very familiar after I read some of Deck's work. So that's why I wonder if, maybe Karen's real, but maybe she studied him, or maybe somebody else used that as their source.
Yeah.
And it's a person doing this. It's not a bot.
Well, she's just
to
got
me,
the same
fake
mental
is a
disorder,
bot.
Or
really.
maybe she's in the same kind of mental space, and that actually leads into the final theory, which is a big one, and it is that Karen is just severely mentally ill.
Yeah, could be.
A lot of people think that she's schizophrenic. There's a video that let's just get through this real quick.
I know.
There's a video I found while researching this, and it's like called "What Schizophrenia Really Looks Like," and it's a man on the street interview with a guy who has schizophrenia, and here's a transcript. I'll read the reporter, and then Joe, can you be the guy? You don't have to read the whole thing. It's long.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, this guy's like, he doesn't like devolve into like, what we would see like a Hollywood portrayal of like, this person's going crazy. He delivers these words very coherently. It's just the content, again, that's... So the reporter just says like, what's your name? And then this man responds.
My name? Oh, let me tell you my name. I'm confused. Because, we're supposed to believe in the ministry, right? So is the church and state supposed to be separate? I'm confused because I never went to school, right? Is a confused person get a resolution? I don't understand. You see, when you go like that, I'm holding up my hands with my crossed index fingers, right? You have a cross, 2 sticks, right? And that's how I felt when I was in Waterloo. Because when I walked in Waterloo and smiled at people, they treated me like a vampire. They used to cross, and they went like this by not smiling at me in Toronto. Oh, hi guys. You know me, Steve Spiros, easygoing. Those who know me, I'm a nobody. You understand? And you can't kill a person with no body. So why am I afraid?
So it goes on a little bit.
Yeah.
But you can see it's not particularly coherent.
Not really. Not entirely. Of course, I don't know. I mean, schizophrenics, they hear voices and stuff like that. Maybe it's hard to actually get a coherent thought together when you're being bombarded with voices.
And I just want to go ahead and say, like, I'm just going to pause right now and say that I do not want to get into the game of trying to diagnose a mental illness based on like a social media profile.
Good point.
I think that's super dangerous, and also I find it like kind of personally offensive that people have been doing this to the point where like when people started becoming aware of Karen's profile in like 2010, 2011, people were like calling the cops and like reporting her as being like severely mentally ill and trying to get her institutionalized. And regardless of what you think may have been going on for her, I just think that's like,
stepping in where you are not even remotely allowed to go based on a Facebook profile.
That's what I think.
I think you can go there. I mean, I think it's reasonable enough as long as you're not a professional. If you're out there on the internet as a psychiatrist saying, my professional opinion is this person is schizophrenia. Now that's crossing a big line.
Well, I just think you don't know that person.
I think I think is being a member of a Chan and saying, this smacks of schizophrenia, so I'm going to
This
call
person's schizophrenic,
the
and I'm gonna get them
authorities on them.
institutionalized.
That's
Yeah.
absurd, because you know what the problem is, and we've come across this before. So I actually stopped and I took the time to look it up to just try and see if I could get a grip on schizophrenia, and I can't. But you know what made me feel better is that even the governing bodies of the mental health world can't get a grip on it, because between the DSM-4 and the DSM-5, things have been excluded and definitions have changed. Like, it is such a... It's so evolving, and it's so unique to each individual.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I think the thing is like, so we talked about hypergraphia a little bit, and people say like
that's not schizophrenia.
No, they say that it is an unusual. It doesn't usually present with schizophrenia, but again, like, everybody's different. Like, maybe it does for some people.
And there's no law actually that says you can only have one mental affliction at the same time.
And that guy that you were talking about that wrote those
Deck.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't he diagnosed schizophrenic?
He was. They were pretty sure that he was.
So,
yes.
I mean, like, he displayed this same sort of hypergraphia tendency, but he also was a schizophrenic. I mean, again, it's like, we can't, there's no way for us to look at these historic posts and say, and nor should we be looking at these historic posts and say, like, this is the mental illness that this person suffered from. But I do think that there's strong evidence to say that this person is mentally ill, and that we're doing a podcast on it. So we are, like, feeding into this sensationalization of this person's mental illness.
Well, I mean, but it's not outlandish to suppose. I mean, because from our point of view, what rational person would do something like this? What a waste of time,
right?
I mean, if nothing else.
Yeah.
What a huge waste of time. Maybe she's mentally ill, or perhaps, this whole thing is like we were talking about earlier, just a troll,
or a project.
Or a project that succeeded in creating this big mystery that people are still talking about. And so, we fall into the trap, and we need to, hit the erase button and talk about something else.
Devin's got the squinty face.
I just think I'm getting squinty face because I think that, like, we're doing that thing that I said we didn't want to do.
Oh.
Where we're just...
Not because it smells bad in here?
No, it's fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
right.
There's no smelly cat thing happening here.
Okay.
But
you're talking about microphone diagnosis?
Smelly cat. Yeah, I think that we, as armchair investigators, cannot know. I mean, the only thing that I'll say is that people say that Karen's profile went dark because she was institutionalized, or she was, was in treatment.
And there are comments on her profile about, isn't it like somebody's coming over or something to that effect?
She actually goes on like a tirade because again, people were like reporting her to the police, and she just basically is like, you guys, this is none of your business. Like, do not call the cops on me. I'm not crazy. I'm like posting this. It's my own personal thing. Like, get out. Like, you guys are awful. Like, just ignore me.
That's true.
And,
I mean, yeah.
And the fastest way to get attention is to say, don't look at me.
Absolutely it is, yeah. So I think I don't give credit to the fact that, I mean, her Facebook is the only thing that went dark. Like, she has all these other accounts that we can trace that didn't disappear in 2011 when her Facebook disappeared. So I think I don't really buy into that necessarily, but I do think that the theory that I land on in this story, which makes me uncomfortable that we've done an entire episode on it, is that it's just a woman who is, like, mentally ill, and this is how it is expressing itself.
And she does not deserve this level of scrutiny.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't want it that bad, and it might be that she didn't even delete it because obviously if she's mentally ill and getting a ton of attention for her writings, that's not necessarily a negative thing for her.
Right, but it might be
maybe her family deleted it.
Well, but it might be a negative thing for her if people are, like, calling hospitals on her.
Well, and I was going to say, remember,
Yeah.
Have you ever deleted a Facebook account? It's not an easy thing to do.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah,
I tried,
super hard.
actually.
Well,
Yep.
you go in and you click the button, and then you cannot log into the account. Facebook tells you for 2 weeks. In actuality, Facebook does not want to lose users.
Sure.
So if you hit for somewhere between 6 months to 12 months, I've found that puppy is back online,
Yeah.
and it is up and running, because I have had family members who have messed up and done the multiple profile thing without realizing it. And, okay, we're going to turn this one off, we're going to turn that one off, just don't log into it. And then I come back and I'm like, what's, you logged into it. So it's not an easy thing. So
You
it
have to
requires
actually
some.
abstain.
Yes, it requires a set of circumstances for the normal person or the not completely mentally sound person to be forced into in order for that account to not be accidentally reactivated.
Yeah.
I see. I'll remember that if I ever try to delete Facebook.
Yeah.
Which I probably will wind up doing one of these days.
Probably.
I've thought about
After
it.
CrimeCon, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
So, yeah. Do you guys have any more theories?
I still, while the what we've talked about for probably what's been the last 10 minutes seems like the most probable, I also have seen enough art students that I almost wonder if this is a crappy art project.
Or some sort of a long con by some Reddit types,
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do this, and you do this portion, and the one person who does the beginning does a ton of stuff and then burns out, and the person who does all the genealogy side, it's like, oh, look, I set myself a reminder for every 2 months and 12 days, and it's been that time. Let's log in and post some weird stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm much happier having done an episode if it's like a coded message number station thing.
Well, that's because you got to think for that.
But
Yeah.
I think,
They didn't do a very good job of keeping a low profile,
No.
if that was the purpose.
and I just think it's somebody that I think is probably suffering from some
Something.
mental illness, something. Yeah.
Mhm. I like the long con a little bit better, just because I like conspiracies. But
Yeah.
there's one person who knows, and that's Karen. So Karen,
Karen
send us
Waldegrave.
an email or friend us on Facebook.
Yeah.
Joe, there's a problem with that.
What's that?
You're presuming that she's real and that she exists.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But if somebody made her up, well, you can friend us too.
Yeah,
that's
that's
okay.
fine.
But then
Yeah.
we'll never know.
Well, let us just fess up. We'll keep it secret.
We'll keep it a secret. Yeah.
Yeah,
Send
we
us
will.
send
Yeah.
a messenger.
Yeah.
We won't tell. We promise.
Well-
wink, wink,
On that bombshell,
wink, wink.
if you are Karen,
Yeah, please contact
please
us.
contact us. No. So we'll post some links from the research on our website. You can also listen and download the episode on the website, as well as find our entire, 205 episode archive or something like that.
Something
Like
like that.
217, I think,
yeah.
if you can count the shorts.
5,472 million.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, a
pretty
lot.
sure that's how it is. Yeah.
There's a ton of it out there.
So you can find all of that stuff on our website, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. There's also links to our merch sites on the website if you want to buy like a shirt or a mug or something.
got a new
like
shirt
that.
up.
We got a new shirt up.
That's right. New shirt. Cool.
If you want to find us on social media, as previously mentioned, we do have a Facebook. Don't friend us, actually. You can like our page. You can join our group, but if you friend us, we will reject your request. Sorry.
Nah, and nothing personal.
Nothing personal. We
No.
just reject all the requests.
Exactly. You can still join the group. Doesn't mean we don't like you.
It's true. We also have a Twitter, which is Thinkin' Sideways, and we have a subreddit, which is Thinking Sideways. You can also email us, like I said, if you're Karen and you are scared of social media now, send us an email.
Understandably so.
Yep. That email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. And I think all of that having been said, we're just going to get out of here.
I think it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Logging off.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I'm craving a Waldorf salad.
Oh.
I am related to everybody, and I will now begin to list off every person that I am related to in history
Okay. Go
in
ahead.
reverse chronological order.
Great. Go for it.
All right. Okay. Hit the record button.
Hey guys, Steve here. You are listening to one of our original 26 episodes. If you've listened to any of our new episodes, you're going to notice that we're sounding a little different in these ones.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
There is.
They've been remastered
They have been remastered.
because they had a really annoying hum.
Yeah, I mean, a huge thanks to listener James for doing almost all of the legwork on this
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
You'll also notice if you had listened to what we're calling the Lost 26 episodes before, and you're re-listening now, the music and sound effects are gone.
Yes, we've gone back to straight audio. So be warned, we sound a little different today than we do in what you're about to listen to.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thinking sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Well, hello. Welcome to the show. And tonight we're going to talk about something extremely mysterious, something some of you may have heard about before, but probably not. I'm Joe.
I'm Devin.
I'm Steve.
And this is Thinking Sideways. Most of you have probably not heard of the mystery of Caspar Hauser, which is something that actually occupied a good deal of Germany and even the rest of Europe in the 19th century. So, let's start from the beginning. Well, from the very beginning, I'll tell you how I heard the story first. Years ago, I read in this book by this guy named Frank somebody who wrote a lot of lurid books about crap that never really happened. He wrote this very, very lurid account of the whole thing, which is that this boy mysteriously shows up in the town of Hamburg, Germany, and he was not able to say anything except, "I want to be a soldier like my father." And then he sort of hangs around for several years, picks up a few social skills, beyond being able to say, "I want to be a soldier like my father." But then eventually is murdered. He comes stumbling out of this park in Hamburg and with a mortal knife wound in his chest, and he dies several days later. Most mysteriously of all, this murder takes place in the middle of winter. There's snow on the ground, and there's no footprints but his own.